Good evening. I am JT Moore, and this is my vlog on this week's discussion. This vlog is called The Cadillac in the Attic. It's a short poem written by Andrew Hudgens. It was written in July of 2004. I'd like to start off by saying that I really enjoyed this poem, and I would assume that most of the readers that really read this one had all the same questions, like how in the world did a car get in the attic? So I'll do my best and try to answer it to the best way that I can. Coming from the poem, you can tell that the poem is written in the first person point of view. A husband and wife are renting a house where the previous renter has died off and the house was left open. One day the husband was upstairs fumbling around through some stuff, and he stumbled across a huge item in the attic. It was covered up, so he and his wife walked upstairs in the attic and found what they thought was a car, which it was. The car was a Cadillac. So they both stood pondering why this Cadillac was left in the attic after the previous renter lived there. Same question that I asked myself. Why was the Cadillac left and how was it put there? So as you read on down a little bit through the poem it goes into details about the car, and this is what I got from the details. The poem tells us about the Cadillac. It tells us that the Cadillac has seen its better days, like many old cars that need restoration. The car had very sloppy paint job, probably flaking and peeling and cracked, very bald tires. Bald tires could be dry rotted and such, and lots of rust chewing its way through the rocker panels. So as mostly everybody knows, rocker panels are a very weak part of the cars and they tend to rust very easily. But even with all this imperfections, the car was still a Cadillac. The owner of the Cadillac was doing a restore job of the Cadillac in the attic. Why was he doing it in the attic? I really don't know. I guess most people would have it in the shop where they can really go at their own pace and they can stretch out and have plenty of space to put their items and parts. But as you could tell, he brought the pieces up one by one to the attic so that he could go at his own pace while restoring the car. You could tell that he didn't have all the room that he would have if he had a shop, so he had to take the items up very small at a time. So as I read this poem, I asked myself the same question that I assume every reader of this poem would ask. Why in the world did the owner of the car want to leave a Cadillac? So the answer that I got from that is, it's not necessarily that he was really wanting to leave the Cadillac, it's just that he had passed and that was the only thing that he had left. He didn't have a choice. Also, another question is, why did the owner of the car want to restore the Cadillac in the attic? I found that very strange and very odd, but maybe because he didn't have any room outside to restore the Cadillac and he wanted to be protected from the weather. Also, a lot of nosy people, like when you're restoring certain things, they would like to ask questions, and maybe he wanted to escape all that. So I can't answer the questions that we have, why he did what he did, but the message is very clear in the poem. He does it for his pleasure. It was fun, it was exciting, it brought happiness to him. So the theme of this poem is that some things are left behind for a certain reason. I think the Cadillac was left behind so that the next renters would find it on purpose, do a lot of research on the car and ask why is it there, to understand its true meaning, and then also hoping that they would begin where he left off on the restoration. In conclusion, after reading the poem, I still have the same question, why would you want to restore a Cadillac in the attic? But I don't have the answer. But in conclusion, some things have certain reasons why they are left behind. Sometimes they have value and sometimes they don't. Just because we can't put a price tag on certain items doesn't mean that it don't have any value. Your value may be different than my value may be different than your value, but at the end of the day, it's a value that is specifically designed for us. And that Cadillac was his certain treasure, was his certain value, and he was working on it to restore it, to bring excitement and pleasure to his life. thank you very much for your time, and I enjoyed this point.
I will.